Hello, fifth graders. So yesterday we were talking about estimating mixed numbers, and we also talked about simplifying fractions if they are improper fractions. And that's going to come into play a little bit today. So I just wanted to review that really quick with you guys. Let's say we have the fraction 43, let's say fifths. Okay, so 43 fifths is improper, but we can make it a mixed number by doing a little bit of division, because I said yesterday 43 over 5 is a mini division problem, 43 divided by 5. So we can set up a long division problem, 43 divided by 5. Okay, 5 can go into 43 8 times without going over. That 8 is our whole number. So it equals 8 wholes, and then we have to figure out what the fractional part is. So that's 40. We subtract, and we end up getting 3. Now, we can't continue the problem because 5 can't go into 3. So in this case, remember how we learned we don't make it a decimal. We just kind of keep it as a fraction. Okay, 3 is left over, meaning that's the numerator. And then the denominator, which is 5, stays the same. So you have 8 and 3 fifths. Okay, and that is the answer for that problem, 8 and 3 fifths. Okay, so I just wanted to review that because we are going to have to take some improper fractions and make them mixed numbers today. All right, so let's look at this example. It says Charles used 1 2/3 cups of walnuts and 2 1/6 cups of cranberries to make breakfast bread. How many cups of walnuts and cranberries did he use in all? What key word tells us that we're adding in this word problem? Well, he said in all. Okay, so we're adding 1 2/3 plus 2 1/6. Okay, so we're adding those two things together. Now, today what we're going to talk about is using models. So we can add this, obviously, and we're going to talk more about that tomorrow. But I also want to show you how using fraction strips, you can also find the answer. Okay, now, just like regular adding fractions, guys, we cannot add these two things because they do not have common denominators. So if you look at these two models up at the top, okay, 2 1/6 is represented by showing 2 wholes and then a sixth. Now, 1 2/3 is represented by showing 1 whole, but instead of 2/3, they represented it by writing 4/6, okay, because 4/6 is equivalent to 2/3. So they just found a common denominator, which was 6. Okay, and now they can easily add it together. And if you're unsure how we got from 2/3 to 4/6, multiply top and bottom by 2, and that's how you get 4/6. So this is the first group of walnuts, and this is cranberries, and now we're going to add them together. So how many total wholes do we have? We have 3 wholes, and then how many total 6 do we have? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So our final answer is 3 5/6, and then we need a unit, which is cups. So 3 5/6 cups. All right, so that's an example of just making a common denominator with the fractions and then adding the whole numbers and adding the fractions. And that's what we do when we add mixed numbers. We just add the whole numbers first, and then we add the fractions. Okay, so let's look at the next one. Mary worked 2 3/4 hours on Monday and 1.5 hours on Tuesday. How many hours did she work? And again, we see in all on Monday and Tuesday. Okay, so right underneath, I'm going to write, and I want you to write that as well, 2 3/4 plus 1.5. And again, they do not have common denominators. So we need to find a common denominator. On a scrap piece of paper, write down the multiples of 4 and 2. What's the common denominator that you find for 3/4 and half? It would be 4 or fourths. Okay, so for this first example, 2 3/4, they show us 2 wholes and 3/4. For the second example, they don't show 1.5 with a half. They show 1 whole and then 2/4 because we know 2/4 is equivalent to half. And how they did that, they found a denominator of 4. Half, top and bottom times 2 gives you 2/4. Okay, now we can add the we can add the whole numbers and we can add the fractions. How many total whole numbers do we have? We have 3 wholes. How many total fourths do we have? Well, in this case, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fourths. So this is why I reviewed turning an improper fraction to a mixed number, because we can't leave that as 3 and 5/4. Okay? Instead, what we're going to do is we're going to make that 5/4 a mixed number. Okay? So you can either do a division problem like we did up here. Okay? Or you can kind of think about it. 4 goes into 5 how many times with how many left over? But let's do a little division problem. Okay, so it's 5 divided by 4, 5 divided by 4. 4 goes into 5 one whole time, okay? So we get 4, we subtract, we get 1, okay? So it goes in one whole time with 1/4 left over. So 5/4 is the same thing as 1 and 1/4. So what we have here is 3, and I'll actually rewrite this over here, okay, is 3 plus, now no longer 5/4, 1 and 1/4. And what will we get as our answer? What is 3 plus 1 and 1/4? Add the whole numbers and then tack on the fraction. We would get 4 and 1/4, and then the unit would be hours. Okay, so that's really all. If you add your fractions and you get a mixed number, okay, an improper fraction, all you need to do is just make it a mixed number and then add it to what you already have. All right, so let's look at another example. So it says, find the total length of these pipes. One pipe is 1 and 11/12. The other pipe is 2 and 1/3. Okay, so you see 2 and 1/3 here. Now, we can't add these pipes together. We can't do 1 and 11/12 plus 2 and 1/3 just yet because they don't have what? Just like we're adding fractions, they do not have a common denominator. Okay, we cannot do that. So what we need to find is common denominators. So what's the common denominator for 3 and 12? The lowest one would be 12. So we make 2 and 1/3 have a denominator of 12. Okay, so we multiply the 3 times what to get 12? Multiply it by 4. Whatever you do to the bottom, you do to the top times 4. So you end up getting 2 and 4/12 for this pipe. Okay, and 2 and 4/12 is represented right there. 2 wholes and 4/12. Plus 1 and 11/12, we don't have to change that, is 1 whole and 11/12. So if we add the whole numbers, okay, how many total whole numbers do we have here? We have 3 wholes, and then count how many 12ths. How many total 12ths do we have? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So 3 and 15 12ths. Now, again, we cannot say 3 and 15 12ths because 15 12ths is an improper fraction. So this is what 15 12ths looks like. But what they're showing in the model is they're showing that 12 12ths is equal to 1 whole. Okay, so 12 12ths is equal to 1 whole, and then we have 3 12ths left over. And again, we can do that if we didn't have a visual to see that. We can also do division. 15 12ths is the same thing as 15 divided by 12. So we can do a little division problem. 15 divided by 12. Well, 12 goes into 15 one time. We get 12, we subtract, and we get 3. So it goes in one whole time with 3 out of 12 left over. And that's the exact same thing that we have up there. Okay, so this is, again, just a visual showing you that the 12 twelfths are equal to 1 whole, and then there's 3 left over. So 15 twelfths is equivalent to 1 3 twelfths. Okay, but we're not done yet, because all we did was just make this 15 twelfths this. We still have this 3 wholes to deal with. So we can bring that 3 wholes straight down, and now we can add these two together and make it the simplest version that we can. So 3 plus 1 is 4, and then we have 3 twelfths. But question for you, is 4 3 twelfths the simplest fraction or mixed number we can do? No, because 3 twelfths can actually be simplified even further. Think about what multiplies to get to 3 and what multiplies to get to 12. Can we divide 3 or 12 by any of those numbers? Both 3 and 12 are divisible by 3. Okay, so we can simplify it, and it can be 4 and 3 divided by 3 is 1. 12 divided by 3 is 4. So our final answer would be 4 and 3 and 1/4. And now we have to also put feet because we need a unit, obviously. Okay, so that's what we get as our answer. All right, now these may seem a little long, okay? Once you get into the process of solving these problems, it really is not too difficult, okay? All you're really doing, you're using skills that you already know. You're finding common denominators, and you're adding the whole numbers and adding the fractions. The only thing you need to remember is if it's an improper fraction, make it a mixed number. You can either think about it visually or do our division that I showed you. And then just at the very end, add your whole number and add whatever you made the mixed number to get your final problem. And just always make sure it's simplified at the very, very end. All right? So, if you have any questions, please email me, and make sure to read the very last little question at the very end of the Ed puzzle that's going to tell you what to do next. All right, have a wonderful day. Bye, guys.